and welcome to the 8th episode of Coffee and Careers with Shivani, your go to place for a blend of energy, insight, and real world wisdom. Today, I'm thrilled to announce or introduce someone whose career path has defied conventional silos and inspired many in the business world. A strategic leader who has journeyed from deep HR roots to leading organizations and championing transformation with scale. Please welcome today's guest, Mr. Amit Malik. A passionate voice in thought leadership, Amit is currently the president, South Asia and Pacific at WadzPay, where he's steering fintech innovation across different geographies. Before taking up this role, he was the MD and CEO of Aviva Life Insurance India, where he drove business excellence whilst nurturing a strong culture. Amit, welcome to Coffee and Careers. It's a privilege to have you with us.
Hello, Shivani. Thank you for having me. Namaste to all your listeners and people who are seeing this. And I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
Likewise, can't wait to start. So, Amit, you've had a transition from being an HR leader to now a CEO. And, now you're a president, and it is a significant shift. So, how did this happen? My first question, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners would also want to know this, that how did this happen? Usually, it is very rare to see somebody transitioning from a very, very hardcore HR role into a business role. So how did it happen, and what were some of the challenges that you faced during this transition, and how did you manage them?
So yes, that's a question that I'm often asked. So Shivani, I just gave a TED talk where I talked about uncharted terrain and I talked about my journey of how this happened.
Yeah.
Right. But yes, I think it's also a case of right place, right time, that one was there. And also I think, you have organizations that have leaders who take a bet on you. So, Aviva, my leader in Aviva and the Aviva as an organization took a bet on me and gave me this opportunity. So I'm very, very thankful for them. Right. And,
Awesome.
that's how these progressions happen from CHRO to doing CHRO plus COO role together and then to a CEO. Right. And in my current organization, again, the founder, after I left Aviva, the founder thought I would be able to add value. And that's how WadzPay happened. So I think people take bet on you. That's what it is. Like you said, I think the challenges which you asked, one faces during this transition.
Yeah.
I think primarily what is it? People box you. See, people like to see every other person in a box. They always
Yeah.
do, no matter what people say. Everyone will tell you, let's break the box, there should be no box. But people will box. It's up to an individual whether you want to accept that box for yourself or not. I chose to
Excellent.
break that box, right? And I keep
Hmm.
breaking that box ever. So,
Hmm.
because personally, I believe that every 5 years you should reinvent yourself. So if you look at my career journey, I became head of HR in 2012.
Hmm.
2017, December, 2018, January, exactly 5 years, I took on the COO role. Five
Right.
years from there, I left insurance to do blockchain. So
Hmm.
that's how I look at myself. I'm saying every 5 years, what am I doing? The second challenge that one faces or I faced is
Hmm.
mindset. Because
Hmm.
people have boxed you, then they say, oh, he's an
Yeah.
HR guy. So first it was HR guy doing a COO role. Then it was
Yeah.
an HR guy doing a CEO role, right? So
Yeah.
it was always about the mindset, you
Yeah.
know. And but then my own personal learning is you can't do anything about it. It's
Yes.
their mindset. They have to deal with it. You just
Yeah.
carry on doing what you are supposed to do, and that's what I did. I think the third challenge that was, when people see you coming from a different domain, they try to be the smartest in the room. But they forget it's not about being the smartest in the room, it's about being the leader in the room. I
Yes.
never go into the room saying I need to be the smartest person in the room. I go into a
Right.
room saying I need to be the leader in this room. Because as a leader,
Absolutely.
you identify the best idea. You get people to agree on the best idea, and then you get everyone to get behind the best idea and work to execute it. This is what
Excellent.
a leader
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
So those are the some of the challenges and how I tackle it.
Excellent. Wow, what a journey and what insights, Amit. I mean, I'll pick it up from the last part that you said. A lot of leaders today are, they think that because I'm a leader, because I'm the CEO, I need to be the smartest person in the room. That is absolutely not true. What you said is so right that I need to have the knack to get the best idea. And that's what makes me a good leader or a good CEO. I think that's a great one. And I think for people, who are looking at transitioning from their roles into new roles, this is a big one. Be at the right time, at the right place. But more importantly, what you said around, mindsets and the fact that people try to box you, it's up to you whether you want to break that box or you want to, become a nice showpiece in that box. I would put it like that. I think that's a really powerful one. But Amit, if somebody, in their 30s or 40s today would ask you that, is it too late to switch careers? Because often people feel that now I'm, 35 plus, 40 plus, I have just about 15 years. And whatever I've done in the past, that may be sort of the goodness of that may be taken away if I switch or reinvent myself. So how would you respond? It's about taking away that fear or, that mindset. So how would you respond based on your experience?
Well, I made a switch at 43. Then I made a switch at 47. So if you ask me, it's never too late to do what you want to do. I
Hmm.
think what is more important is why do you want to do it?
Mhm.
What is your why?
The
Why are you
purpose.
making that switch? You know,
Yeah.
and how will you be able to manage and handle that switch? Are you willing to
Yeah.
give it all? See, because every transition, every switch, every transformation, it is
Mm.
messy, it is chaotic, it is uncertain,
Yeah.
right? That comes with the territory. So are you willing to
Yes.
put in that much of effort, hard work, application to be able to manage that? That is important. So there is
Right.
no, I have also seen people make switch at 55 and 56 and 60s, right? I only did it in the 40s. But yes, if I would have got an opportunity, when I look back, maybe I should have done this when I was in my 30s.
Mm.
Yes. But
Right. And I
right.
think it's like you said, it's going to be chaotic. So more importantly, than age, considering age, it is better to consider whether you have the mindset and the readiness to grapple with that chaos. I think that is the most important thing. Great. Amit, you've had quite a few laurels, under your kitty. So if you were named among the 40 most talented HR leaders in Asia Pacific. So looking back, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to know that, were there some defining moments or turning points in your journey which shaped you, into a leader who is recognized today, internationally?
So, thank you for the compliment. But 40 talented leaders came at a very early age in my CHRO career. I was all of 15 years of experience at that time, and then it came as a surprise. But
Awesome.
it's a recognition, and I'm very, very thankful for it.
So
I
all the
think
more
when I
reason
look at
why, all the more reason why people would want to know that how, it happened at such a young age. So please add on to whatever you're going to say
I
now.
think I think it's see, work wise, everyone does a lot of work. I think couple of
Yeah.
things that that I have always held dear to me is what I will share. Right. So I
Right.
think first and foremost is courage and conviction.
Mm.
Even when I started my career or my journey, I always had the courage to speak what I felt was right
Mm.
for the organization and for the employee, both.
Mm.
And the
Mm.
conviction was in what I was saying was backed by logic, backed by data. It wasn't an opinion
Right.
and why I was saying it. So I was very convinced about why I was saying it. I think that is a trait that has always, it's not always won me friends or got
Mm.
liked by my managers, but it's always held me good in my career. Right. I think the
Super.
other thing that I've always emphasized in every talk that I give is understand the business, understand how the
Right.
organization makes money. Because when you talk to people, you have to be able to have that sense, right, about how we are making money, what is important, what does that customer look like. I think that's in my
Right.
HR journey. Coming back to that, the other thing that other two things that I've always focused on. One is to build your own timber,
Mm.
right? I learned this in GSK where I started my career, but to build your own timber, every time in a buy versus build debate, I would always lean towards the build. I'm
Mm.
not boxing that we wouldn't buy. No, we've bought many a times. We've gone out and searched talent. But my lean always was how can I impact build? Because as an HR leader, as a business leader, I can only impact build. I can't impact buy.
Right. Right.
That's been the and the other thing, the last thing that I always say is be flexible on people, but strict on policy.
Mm.
I think those are some of the traits in my HR journey or as a leader that has always helped.
And I think that's quite a profound takeaway for a lot of our HR colleagues who are listening to us today. The build versus the buy model. It takes a lot of hard work. I mean, I think it's easier to buy. It's always easiest to look out. Of course, it's not that easy to get good talent also today. But I think if you were to sort of weigh the two options, it is far more blood and sweat when it comes to build, and that's where I think the true quality or a true capability of an HR leader as well as the CEO, I would say it all goes hand in hand. It's not just the HR who can do it, or it's not just the CEO who can do it. So I think that's a very profound takeaway. And I think the point that you made on the fact that you were always very convinced, you had conviction, and you said what was right. I think a lot of people struggle with that because, like you said, you never gave opinions. It was always conviction that was backed by logic and data. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong because sometimes emotions take over. And people make statements which are emotionally very strong, may sound right, but not necessarily the best thing for the organization because it's not vetted by logics. I think that's another very key takeaway for people listening today. Now, Amit, mentorship. If we were to talk about that word, it's being talked about a lot in the business circles today, in the corporate world today. So, and it does play a very pivotal role in career development. So, can you recount any mentorship experience that profoundly impacted your professional trajectory?
So I've always had 4 or 5 mentors, and even when I
Mm.
have a mentee, I always tell people that have 4 or 5 mentors. Because
Yeah.
each mentor brings something different to the table. So you should
Yes.
have 4 or 5 mentors surrounded by you, so that you should have the knowledge and the wisdom to know what time to go to which mentor, right?
Yes.
So I think the experience that I'll define is when I was taking over the head of HR role for Aviva. I had 13 years of work experience. A
Hmm.
lot of people told me it's too early in your career, right?
Hmm.
And I was always a very confident individual. I still am, right? But this
Hmm.
whole so when everything happened, right, and I had to just accept the role, I
Hmm.
got into this whole spiral about saying, is it too early? Right? What if
Hmm.
I fail? Do I
The
have enough
usual.
experience? Right?
Yeah.
And I realized that if I walk into the organization, I'd be the youngest one on the leadership table and youngest by a
Right.
mile. Right. And so, and I started. So that's the time when I went on to my mentors, right?
Hmm.
And I think the always is when you go to a mentor, you have to be honest. So I was honest, I was
Yes.
vulnerable, I shared what I thought, and all 3 of them. So I approached 3 of them out of the 5, and the
Hmm.
3 of them clearly, gave me their own perspective, gave me
Hmm.
their own perspective on why, about readiness, about failure, right? And they brought that
Hmm.
whole confident Amit back onto the table,
Hmm.
right? and told
Yeah.
me and told me go get it done, and go do it. And not only that whole conversation that I had, in the 24 hours or 36 hours when I was deciding upon whether I should accept or take the call or not, but even
Hmm.
otherwise in my first 6 months, they all were available for me on a phone call to say, if I got stuck, or if I wanted a different view, or I wanted an alternate view, or I wanted to discuss something, they were all available, for me to, kind of help me navigate the whole piece. So it
Hmm.
was it was a really a very big help, and they know who they are, so I don't need to name them. They know who they
I'm
are,
sure.
and they know that I'm always thankful for
Yeah.
it. And they've been constant in my career journey. For now, in a 25-year career journey, I think I got my set of 5 mentors in the first 5-6 years. So yeah.
Hmm. Awesome. Awesome. I love the piece where you said that, it's always good to have multiple mentors. It's not, you can't, and you should not have, just one mentor because everybody brings their own strengths to the table. I personally have benefited a lot from, a diverse set of mentors because, like you said, I feel that, going to a mentor, it is so wonderful that they're able to see things in you which you cannot see in yourself. And that is the beauty of this process. And I think that is the biggest, I would say, blessing to have a good mentor in your life. But Amit, we've always been talking about mentorship from the mentee's perspective. That a mentor should be like this, a mentor should be like that. Now let's flip that question. Um, as a mentor yourself, what qualities do you think make somebody a good mentee or truly, coachable or mentorable, if I may use that word? And more importantly, what signals show that someone is ready to or open to take your mentorship and ready to grow?
So yeah, before I take someone as a mentor, ask this question. Tell me, why do you want a mentor?
Mm,
Why do you want a mentor? Forget the
mm,
organization may have, asked you to enter a mentorship
yeah,
program, or your institute would have asked you to assign me as your mentor. But why do you want a mentor? Because I want to check whether he or she is a visitor, or are they a
mm,
willing person who's walked into the room. That's the
mm,
first.
mm,
And then I also
yeah,
help a lot of time clarify what is mentoring and what they can expect, and all of that. But I think as a mentor, three things that I would look in, look in a person who wants to be mentored or a mentee. I think first and foremost is about the I'll again come back to this, about the growth mindset.
right.
Do you have that growth mindset? Because if you have that growth mindset, then my job is to hone it, or to help you further in that. Second
Yeah,
is your willingness to learn.
yeah,
How willing are you to learn? Not to learn from me, but to learn what is needed to be successful.
yeah,
That is important, because in
yeah,
the end, I'm a mentor. I can only guide you to options and to paths. You have to be able to travel that path. You have the willingness to learn.
absolutely.
The third
Absolutely.
is how clear you are on the end goal or the outcome.
Mm,
We may start the mentorship where you are not clear. I'm fine. We
yeah,
can work towards it, but at some point in the relationship, you have to start getting the end
owning it
goal
up.
or the outcome
Mm,
clear in your mind.
mm,
And how
mm,
clear are you? Those are
mm,
the things that I always look. And if even if people are on a 2 or a 3 on a scale of 10, I'm very happy to work. Right.
mm.
But if you are a 0, or you just don't know, or you just don't have an idea, then it becomes a challenging relationship.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I would say the most important aspect of all of that, what you said, is the mindset. Amit, I've shared this earlier with you that I work as a fractional CHRO in a couple of corporates. And one of my roles is mentorship there. But I'm very surprised when people walk into the room and when I ask them the same question that you ask your mentees, that why do you want to do it? A lot of times it is because the organization has asked me to, and vis-a-vis the ones who come and say because I genuinely want to learn, I want to sort of do well in my career. You see the results of the two. There's a vast difference. So the ones who come due to some kind of a pressure. Uh, Most definitely walk out of the process, or they're disinterested, or I would rather advise them to seek another path. And that happens just in probably the first couple of months. But the people who are really serious about it, they really really reap the benefit of a good mentor. So I totally resonate with this fact that imposed mentorship never works. It's always it has to come from within, that I do need a mentor. And I think the three career, the advice that you gave on on how people can cultivate that mindset, the clarity that they need to have before they seek mentorship, the growth mindset, like we discussed, willingness to learn, not from the mentor, but what it takes to succeed in the career. I think that's a very powerful one. So Thank you for sharing that. Um, but Amit, when somebody comes to you for career advice, now, of course, being a mentor and being a senior professional, people would come to you. You've done professionally very well for yourself. So I'm sure people do come to you to seek career advice. So, what's that one piece of career advice that you've heard often, but you no longer believe it is true? And what advice do you usually find yourself giving out the most today?
Uh, that's interesting. So one advice that I've always got, but I've not felt, yeah. Okay. So I think what that would be is the focus of tenure in your career. Tenure that you
Hmm.
spend in the organization. Everyone has said, oh, you should spend 5 years, 6 years. What's your longest tenure? I think that advice is now outdated. And I am
Hmm.
not saying leave organizations after 6 months or 12 months. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to say is just to be in an organization so that you get a 5 year award is also outdated and not important. Stay in the
Yeah.
organization as long as you are adding value, and
Hmm.
also stay in the organization as long as you feel the organization is adding value.
Yeah.
It has to be a both way traffic.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you should
Yeah.
develop, you should be developing, and you should be meaningfully contributing in your work. As long as you are doing that, it doesn't matter whether it's 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. I stayed 10 years in Aviva. That was my longest, right?
Hmm.
But if you are not doing it, then
Hmm.
1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, when you have that realization, look for
Hmm.
something where you can develop yourself, which meets your end career goal better than where you are currently, right?
Yeah.
Ask yourself the tough questions. And
Hmm.
that's the thing. One
Excellent.
advice, yeah.
Yeah.
One advice that you said I'll give to everybody is, which I always say and which I also talk about myself, is be a learner.
Hmm.
Never stop learning. Just because,
Hmm.
we did an MBA 20 years or 15 years back, today, things have changed. Skills are changing
Yeah.
faster than we know.
Yeah.
Knowledge is, changing every time. So if you are on top of knowledge and skills, you have to be a learner.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. Just be a learner. As long as you are a learner, and you're on top of the skills and knowledge as they change, that will always hold you in good stead.
Excellent points. I think the first one, I think, strikes a chord with a lot of people today because, where you said that your career should not be defined by your tenure. And I think youngsters increasingly are understanding that it's not just about how many years I spend, it's the quality of experience that I get in that organization. And on a lighter note, I don't think organizations now even expect people to stay for 5 years because I was recently at an event where somebody was sharing that they've introduced long service awards at 3 years as well. you know, so I think organizations also get it that it's a two-way process, and with the current generation, I think it's going to take a lot to keep them excited because it's no longer about tenures. It's about the value add, like you said. What value am I adding, and what value is being added to my profile or to my career by the organization? I think that's a big one. Um, and I think the part on the being a learner. I think that is something that all the guests who have come on my podcast have reiterated, and it's one of the, I would say, a very very key trait of successful leaders. If you see, there is so much of role redundancy happening these days, and unfortunately, people are not are going out of jobs, and it's a reality. But I think people who have stayed abreast, who have stayed in tandem with what's evolving, I think those people are the ones who have really survived. So it's actually survival of the fittest today. If you're not learning, you're not going anywhere in your careers. That's a great one, and I totally resonate with that. Um, Amit, coming to your digital presence, your presence on LinkedIn, you've got about, 22,000 followers. You've got a very strong digital presence. So I wanted to ask you, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners would have this question in their mind, that how has this platform shaped your, leadership brand? And how is it, more importantly, how is it redefining the way leaders are building trust, community, and influence today on this platform?
So thank you, but I'm just a beginner. 22,000 is not a big number when I look at people who have over 100,000 followers,
That's
right?
all
So
right. It's
yeah,
about the
yeah.
quality of what you
Yes,
put,
yeah.
nothing
So,
else.
so that's on that front. I'm still a beginner, but yes. See, I've always endeavored to to write and share about what I feel or what I think will add value, right?
Right.
I feel a lot of sense of responsibility when I write something on a LinkedIn or when I write something on a Twitter, right? Which where I active. So LinkedIn is a lot about work. Twitter is a lot about my reflections. If you go to my Twitter profile,
Mm,
you will have reflection with hashtag life because that's my reflection. LinkedIn
awesome.
is a lot about what I write, but I've always had this whole responsibility about what I write, what I share. Because
Mm,
the question is that when I write on LinkedIn, and I'm
mm,
expecting people to read, they
mm.
are giving me their time, that 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes that they read the post. And my endeavor is, what am I giving them in return?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have always been very clear about, so you look at, I write about a lot of stuff, but what I
Yeah.
don't write, I write about a lot of stuff because some things will interest me, I will write. Right. Some week I will write about fintech. Some week I will write about FMCG. Some week I will write about AI because what interests me I will write. But what I'm clear about not writing is I don't write anything to sensationalize.
Mm,
And I don't write anything that is going too emotional on the personal side. Though a lot of
right.
people have told me, so a lot of influencers who I will not name have told me that that is what gets viral. Right. That's me. I have
No.
stayed away. I have
Yeah.
stayed away from them. Right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
my approach
Yeah.
has been to build trust, to build influence with stories that matter
Yeah.
and give back
Yeah.
something to the reader. Right? Not
Yeah.
not everyone wants to read about Bitcoin, that's fine. Not everyone wants
Mm,
to read about FMCG, that's fine. Not
mm,
everyone wants to read
mm,
about leadership, it's fine. So I try
mm.
and do everything, I try and do varieties so that people can engage. The other thing that
Right.
I've done, which I did, was started a newsletter that
Mm,
is my long form. So, Shivani,
mm,
when I started the newsletter, everyone told me people are going to YouTube shorts and you're writing a 1,500 word newsletter. I said there are
mm.
still people who love the long form. So my
Read. Yeah.
newsletters
Yeah.
are the long form where you will have data, you will have graph, you will have stuff like that. But that's my long form. So if someone is,
Awesome.
and I have almost 4,500 subscribers to my newsletter, and I'm like,
Awesome.
if those are the people who want to read long form, they will subscribe and read long form. It's not for everybody.
Yes.
But
Yes.
so that only comes once a month because it's detailed, it's long
Yeah.
form. The other thing that I'm now going to experiment I have to is video.
Mm,
Shortly,
mm.
you will see a lot more video on my LinkedIn because that's the
Superb.
next thing I want to experiment. So I've not done video too much, but I now want to start doing it.
Absolutely. Amazing. I'm going to ask you another question, which I'm sure a lot of people would have in their minds, but I'll just park it for the time being. But what I understand from from your answer here is that uh, what it takes is variety. You have a different audience. It doesn't matter whether everybody is reading. I've seen a lot of people. I just recently did a master class on LinkedIn, and people ask me, I post every day, but people don't, I don't get engagement. Now, the thing is that I am posting something what I want to post, but am I posting something that people would like to hear from me? In the sense, what's the value that I'm adding to the people who are reading my posts. And not everyone has to read. Not everyone has to come on your page and read whatever you're writing about. But are you really adding value to the ones who are wanting to learn from you? I think that's the key. And so
Yeah.
variety, like you said, there's a newsletter, and I totally agree. There is, while this is a generation, or these are times of, 1 minute reel, you talk to any digital marketing agency, they'll advise, oh, 8 minutes से ज्यादा नहीं बनाइएगा video because people will not see. But I honestly don't agree with that, because people who are willing to learn, see, people who want to see 1 minute videos are the ones who will in any case scroll after a minute. So the people who really want to learn are not those 1 minute scrollers. They are the ones who would want to, listen to the entire video, or the podcast, or whatever form you're communicating with them. And hence your newsletter. I'm not surprised to hear that there are 4,500 subscribers, and this number will grow, because there is genuinely an audience that wants to really learn. And the question that I wanted to ask you was, you're doing You read a lot, you told me. You're doing, different formats of content, which is in terms of a newsletter, LinkedIn, Twitter. Now you're going to start videos, and you're running a full-time business. So the question that a lot of people will ask, and it's there in my mind as well, how do you find the time? How do you manage the time?
I'm very miser with my time. That was
Okay.
my
And
learning
what does
from
that
COVID.
mean? Hmm.
That means is I'm very, very miser. You
Hmm.
know, if I have to set up a meeting, I'll set up a meeting for 30 minutes.
Hmm.
Right? I'm very miser. I'll come prepared. I'll make sure that I do. If I have to meet somebody and I say I'll meet you for an hour, I will meet you for an hour. I will be
Hmm.
on time. If I tell you I'll see you, Shivani, at 6 o'clock, I'll be there at 5 to 6.
Hmm.
And at 7 o'clock, I'll say, thank you so much. Great meeting you. If we have more to discuss, we'll do it later. I'm very
Hmm.
I'm very miser with my time, and I say that I'm very conscious of how I spend my time. It's not that I don't do nothing. There are weekends when I will spend the day doing nothing. But then
Hmm.
that's me. That's for my recharge. That's for my rejuvenation, right? So,
Right.
and that's how. And I also believe that if you want to steal time during the 24 hours, you will be able to steal time,
Hmm.
right? You should,
Yeah.
you have to be conscious about doing it,
Yeah.
right? If you
Yeah.
want to, you will. Yes, there are some days which are good, some days which are bad.
Hmm.
But then that's with work, that's with life. So you just
Yeah.
kind of make sure. And I'll tell you, it doesn't take that much of time if you prepare well and if you prepare well in advance. The other
Yeah.
thing is, if you are doing something, you focus on doing that.
Hmm.
Don't get There are a lot of distractions in life, right? Don't get distracted. So if you are working, let's say I'm working on a LinkedIn post and I need that 1 hour, I will make sure that I calendarize that 1 hour on my calendar, and I will give that 1 hour. And most of
Hmm.
the times it's more than enough for me to be able to do everything because I'm focused on that.
Yeah.
Then I won't call you, or if you call me, I won't pick up the call. I can call you back later because I'm focused on doing that. So I think that
Yeah.
just helps.
Absolutely. I think I would rather like to rephrase. You use the word miser. That's not being miser. I think that's being respectful of your time, and that's being disciplined of your time. And I think those were some really good time management skills that you gave, tips that you gave to the listeners today, because it is at the end of the day all about discipline. Everybody has the 24 hours. You also have the 24 hours. I also have, people listening to the podcast also have. It's about how one makes use of those 24 hours. And while and maybe this is the topic for another conversation, but a lot of people say that, well, I multitask. Honestly, if you if you go into the science of multitasking, it's actually not multitasking, it's switch tasking. You're removing your focus from one activity, putting it into another. So if you really compare the time, and I've done this, and if you really compare the time, you actually end up spending more time on an activity if you're multitasking. So those were just some
Ah,
bites on time management.
no, just to add, when I work, I don't listen to music. If I have to listen to music, I will listen to music for half an hour.
Fully. Hmm.
Yes,
Hmm.
that's my
So
time
being in
for
the
music.
moment. Yeah.
Yes, or when
Yeah.
I'm walking, I listen to music because then it's my legs and my music. So I'm walking, I'm listening to
Yes.
music. Where the
Yeah.
focus is on the music.
The
So yeah, I
focus.
yeah, but even when I was a student, I couldn't do two things. So that's I just would focus on one and do it. So I think that's very
Yeah.
nice.
I think it's good to focus on one and do it well rather than focus on 10 and do nothing well. I think
Yeah,
that's the biggest
I
learning
agree.
for me in my journey as well. Amit, one last question. If you could send one handwritten letter back to your younger self, what is that one piece of advice that you would write on that?
Oh, that's a really tough one. That's a really,
Think.
really tough one. So, but the advice that I will write is, I think it's in my mind. It's all jointed. So the advice I would be is how to approach life,
Mm,
and I would
mm,
say is, one, don't take yourself too seriously.
mm.
And what I want to say is, don't take yourself seriously. Prioritize yourself,
Yeah.
right? Because you've got you, so prioritize.
Mm,
And if there is one thing that you can be kind.
mm.
We need
Excellent.
a lot more people in this world who exhibit kindness.
Excellent. Excellent. Great. Superb. That was a nice one to end the note with, to end the episode with. Prioritize yourself. It's a lot about self-love. prioritize yourself and be kind. Beautiful, beautiful thoughts. And that's a wrap on another meaningful conversation here on Coffee and Careers. Amit, thank you so much for joining us and taking us on a journey that was, very reflective and very forward looking. Your, sharp takes on whether it was the career pivots or mentorship, or whatever we spoke about, every insight I think was truly a masterclass in leadership. You reminded us that reinvention is not tied to age, but to the mindset. And I think that's the big one for today. Uh, Thank you so much, Amit. It was really an honor and a pleasure to host you. I've personally enjoyed this conversation a lot, and I hope to get you back again on the podcast soon on another topic.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's been a great last 30-35 minutes of chatting up with you. I really enjoyed it. So thank you once again, and look forward to the next conversation on whatever topic you decide.
Absolutely. Thank you. And to our listeners, if you are navigating a career shift or you're leading teams or you're simply wondering, how to stay grounded while you're growing, we hope this episode gave you both perspective and possibility. Until next time, keep sipping your coffee, keep learning, and remember your career is your craft, so brew it well. Thank you. See you in the next 2 weeks with another power speaker. Keep growing, keep thriving.